to Opt In with April Jasper. Relevant conversations about topics important to eye care providers today.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We appreciate being a part of your life and being invited into your day. It is such a joy to be able to help our colleagues to bring value to their patients and to help you strengthen and grow your business. Join us at optometricmanagementeducation.com, where you can learn more about all of the other services we provide. We have a subscription service that you can be a part of, where you can learn and teach your team from the courses that we've recorded on all of the topics that are relevant to your success. We also have consulting services. And right now, if you give us a call, schedule a call with me, I'll be happy to talk to you about what we can do to help you grow your business one-on-one.
Hello, everyone. April and I had the opportunity to change things up a little bit for this podcast. So we are in Dothan, Alabama with a good friend of ours, Mr. Bill Holland. He is the owner of Harley Davidson of Dothan, Alabama, and Holland Motorsports right here in Dothan, Alabama. And Bill's been a good friend of ours it's been over 30 years now. You believe
Yes,
that?
sir. Yeah.
Mid-80s?
Yes, sir.
It's been a ride.
Yes, sir.
No pun intended, right?
That's right.
So him and his dad, you guys are celebrating your 50th year this year.
Yes, sir. Opened up in July 26, 1972, so we just had a big celebration this past July. We actually had the celebration on July 30th, which my dad just happened to turn 90 years old on July 30th, so we celebrated his 9th birthday and our 50 years in business pretty much the whole month of July, but had a real big blowout on July 30th for his birthday and our anniversary.
That is amazing, right? So you guys had some challenges along the way, and you've had a lot of great times along the way too, right? It's been from humble beginnings, you would say, maybe?
Yeah, this is, a family business. I think any business, ours just happens to be power sports motorcycles. I think they go through cycles. When you have times when there's a lot of fat and some profits to be made, and there's other times when it's you think from day to day, how am I going to pay my bills tomorrow? And since we actually opened up in 1972, there were a lot of times in the 80s when interest rates was extremely high, and we went through days when we did not know if we were going to make it the next day or not. My dad was just an old school of hard knocks guy, and he just had a will to succeed. And with a lot of grace and prayer, he was able to just stay in business and just defy the odds and keep his business open. I remember one time in the, I think it was early 80s, we had a sidecar rig, which was a nice antique that we had, and nobody would loan him any money. He finally found let's just say some sort of broker, a legal broker, to borrow some money from, but the interest was so high he had to sell our antique sidecar rig just to pay the interest on the note to keep our doors open, one more time. So there's been a lot of those times through our history when we, were able to take a nice vacation, and other times when we didn't know if we were going to have anything besides, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for a week or two.
And I think when we met,
we were eating the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
I remember my brother-in-law now saying, we're going to go see the Harley Davidson owner's house, or we're going to go to his house, because I think we had to pick something up or something, because you were his youth pastor.
Yes, I was.
In the church. And you were actually my youth pastor that year. We lived up here. That was 88, 89, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking, okay, this is the Harley Davidson owner's house. All right.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Right. In the early 80s, when my wife and I got married in 1984, I was actually renting a one-bedroom duplex that belonged to my great-grandparents. And at this time, the home, belonged to my grandmother. So we were renting the duplex from my grandmother. And probably one of the oldest, if not the oldest, subdivisions in Dothan, Alabama. And, it was a very humble place that we lived there for several years.
Well, and congratulations, because since then it's been like crazy.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean,
we've had a few hiccups along the way, but because the economy is up and then it's down. But
exactly. Well, you guys obviously, you have been awarded 14 times the Bar and Shield Award.
Yeah, 13 to 14 times.
Which is a prestigious Harley Davidson Award.
Just recognized as one of the top 25 dealers in the United States. They actually don't have that exact award now. Through different leaderships of Harley Davidson Motor Company, they go through different cycles of what they call reward programs and the recognitions they make. But during the era they had those awards, we did win it at least 13 or 14 times, yes.
Wow, that's amazing. And Harley kind of reinvented themselves, right? I mean, they went through some tough times themselves. Harley Davidson themselves, they sold, right? Was it AMF or something?
Yeah,
kind of bought them out or something?
When we opened up in 1972, Harley Davidson at that time was actually owned by American Machinery and Foundry. And it was just a difficult time in the 70s and early 80s when a lot of vehicles, specifically motorcycles, were moving from leaded fuel to unleaded fuel, solid state ignition systems instead of points and condensers. So everything was just running a lot hotter, and the technology that we had going into the early 80s was strained by the fuel changes and the ignition changes. And then in 84, Harley Davidson came out with a new Evolution engine. They've had several different engine designs over time, but that was one of our saving engine designs in 84. And but just prior to that, in 1982, several of the employees and family members of Harley Davidson Motor Company came together and bought Harley Davidson from AMF, and it became a private entity again. Of course, some years after that, it become and it currently is a publicly stock-held company. So it's just went through. Primary manufacturer Harley Davidson has went through many changes, just like our store has went through many changes over the last 50 years.
Yeah, what an evolution, right?
Yes, actually, I don't know if I mentioned or not, but the first engine they came out with in '84 that replaced the shovel head engine, the engine they came out with in '84 to replace the shovel head engine to help us deal with the different fuel and different ignition system was called the Evolution engine.
Oh my gosh, I love it. That is perfect. I love that. I didn't even know that. But so you guys have obviously been through a lot. What are some principles that you guys live by? I mean, you and Dutch obviously have a creed here and a motto and a way you do business.
Well,
what are some points that you can share with our audience? Because this is basically a business podcast, right?
I'm not going to remember the author's name, but there's a book that I like called Doing Business God's Way, and there's just principles in that book. When it's just not about you, it's about your team, it's about your employees, it's about your families, it's about your employees' families.
And how many employees do you have now?
We're probably mid-40s,
Wow, awesome.
Scratching 50.
All right.
Yeah, mid-40s.
I'm sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead.
No. So, basically, we're not trying to build an empire about us. We're trying to grow our family, and as we grow our family, we try to grow the families of our employees. Just once a month we have a team meeting with the entire staff, and one of the things that my assistant manager reminded everybody of was to check your days. We're getting close to the end of the year. If you haven't took your vacation days, please take your vacation days. You can carry over a few of them, but you can't carry over all of them, and we want to be sure you get the time off, with you and your family. And one reason we want to remind them last week, the last couple of weeks about that is during this week that just ends today, has been the majority of the schools in Alabama have been out for fall break. So it's a good time to remind some of your employees that, hey, your kids are going to be home, and you may want to spend some time with them, just whatever that looks like. So, but we have a turnover. Life happens.
Right.
We've had the last few days we've had a couple of different employees because of things going on in their family.
Right.
You need to take a step back from, the working environment and,
right.
and go back and look after something at home. And, when your employees sit in the office with your general manager and basically cry, because I've just got situations at home that's going to require me to not be able to work here, but I've got to go take care of my family, when they're, tears are streaming down their face because something, life has happened and they can't continue their employment here. On the one hand, you feel for their family situation, but and you're sad that they're going through something cycle like that, but it still makes you glad that they love it here and are hating they're not going to be able to remain a part, of the team here. I recently had one of my employees had a different circumstance. He came up to me. He said, Bill, he said, I've only been here, a month or so, and I haven't really had a one-on-one conversation with you other than just, hey, how's your day going? He said, but I want to let you know that this is and I don't know, he's got to be late 50s, early 60s. He said, I just want to know, working here is the best job I've ever had and the best team I've ever worked with, and your whole staff is just great. And
so how do you do that? How are you doing that? What are you doing?
Well, I would love to be able to give you a single bullet point right here. You know, what we call a lot of times in our seminars gold nuggets. I wish I had a gold nugget I could say, do this right here, and it will guarantee that you have the best employees always. But I think at the end of the day, if your employees know that you genuinely care about them and you genuinely care about their families and you're trying to do something, you know, I mean, just look, guys, I don't know, you know, how many different businesses are going to be hearing this, and I don't do this every day, okay? But when you have a situation to where gas prices are stupid, you know, more than they, you know, have been, but your business is doing okay right now, and you can just throw every employee a couple of $100 extra in their paycheck that they weren't expecting, you haven't had to give them a raise. You haven't had to change the whole dynamics of their livelihood. But when you just do that once in a blue moon, because you look around and say, man, it cost me $100 just to fill my pickup truck up. It's costing all your employees $100 too to fill up, you know, their vehicles.
Yeah.
And just little bitty things, you know, like that. Once in a while, we'll have a cookout, you know, where we'll just, you know, either bring in food, or there's been times where I personally, you know, my wife's baked the baked potatoes, and I've come in here and ran the grill and grilled the steaks just so we can feed our employees. And that don't happen all the time, but it is something we do. So it's just occasional little things where it's a little $100 bill in their check, you know, regular checkbook. If it's bringing them in food, if it's you know, cooking for them, and if you have the time, and it don't happen as often as I wish it did, but if you have the time for my wife to actually bake the potatoes and fix a salad and me do the cooking, it's
That's
more
a
than
lot
just
of potatoes.
well,
Bill.
it is.
Come on now.
But it's more than just them getting a free meal. You know, I mean, obviously the easy task is sometimes you'll have a charity, you know, organization come along and they'll be selling plates or something. Well, you know, if a charity's doing that and you can just stroke a check to the charity and they're going to bring all the meals by, then all of a sudden the charity's got a win-win, then they got some money, and your employees got a win-win.
Absolutely.
Hey, boss bought lunch today, you know. So there's just, I think you just always need to be figuring out what can you do to create a family atmosphere in your workplace. Yes, it's work, okay? On the other side of that, because we have a lot of people that are passionate about our brand, we occasionally will have someone that's retired from their regular job and they think and they want another job, and they'll say, well, you know, I've bought 3 or 4 Harleys, I've ridden them my whole life, this is fun, you know, maybe I'll just go to selling Harleys. Sometimes though that doesn't work out because they realize that, okay, for us to sell our product, you have to prospect, you have to get leads, you have to call those prospects. You have to follow up with those prospects. You've got to get up.
It's a job?
It is a job.
No.
So you actually have to get up and meet the customer when they come in and say, how may I help you today? And when the sales manager is saying, listen, I'm checking here, and the other team are making all their phone calls and follow all the customers. But all you do is just wait on the next guy to come in the store.
Have you been to our office?
Yeah. Well,
this is.
So what I'm saying is that sometimes after about 30 days, some of these people that have retired and thought, oh man, the greatest job in the world would be to sell Harley Davidson motorcycles. So I'm, you know, so for my next career, I'm going to sell Harleys, and they get here like, oh, wait a minute, I done put in 30 years, you know, at my regular job when I actually had to work every day. I thought this was going to be just a fun atmosphere.
People
and it's a fun atmosphere. Yeah, it is a fun atmosphere. Okay. That's great, but it's still a job. You still have to do the process, go through the work. You know, just like any sales seminar you ever go to, everybody tells you got to put so many things in the funnel at the top for something to fall at the bottom. You know, because if I'm not working hard and I'm not giving great customer service and taking care of my customers and getting return business, then I'm not making any money. If I'm not making any money, there's not going to be a once in a blue moon, you know, free lunch or $100 extra, you know, $100 in the paycheck to help with gas. The only way you can do that thing, you know, those things to bless your employees is if you're taking care of your customers and everybody's doing their job and doing their part. So.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot to unpack.
Well, it doesn't matter, you know, pick a name, you know. Your business, my business, the medical field, the retail field. It's all taking care of your customers, looking after them. You know, I will say that I think it's a lot easier to take care of I'm going to take that back. I don't know that it's easier because sometimes it's not uncommon for people to look at their Harley Davidson motorcycle like many people look after their children. Or their spouse.
Correct.
So one thing I think the medical field may have in common with our particular business is your client, your customer, your patient, are just as concerned about whom you're caring for in their family.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And people may not realize it, but in the Harley Davidson business, many times you are taking care of a member of their family,
Yeah.
and they're just as concerned about them. I mean, how's it
Yes.
going? How's my baby? Is she going to be okay? And I've got all these new accessories I want to put on her. When you can get it in, when you can get the accessories.
I love it.
And they want to make it uniquely yours. I
Yep.
mean, it's they want to dress their children up for their first trip to school, or dress
Yep.
her young adult up for their trip to college.
That's right.
They want to take their motorcycle and be sure it has the most attractive,
Yeah. Well, of course.
pretty things you can put on the motorcycle,
Hey.
just like they want to dress up their child. So there's some similarities in the care that you have to take
I
care
love
of.
it.
We are proud to be sponsored by MacuHealth, a triple carotenoid formula that is the only one with mesozeaxanthin, lutein, and zeaxanthin. David and I have been using MacuHealth in our practice for several years. We love it because it's patented with micromicelle technology. It's clinically proven to restore macular pigment and supported by level 1 scientific evidence. So we have confidence that it works.
Are there any things you wish you would have known when you first started that you do now that would have saved you so much time and trouble back at the beginning?
I think
Any business ideas?
Well,
I know that could be a very loaded question, can it?
yes. As we've grown, I would say one thing that we've learned not too long ago is that when you're growing your business,
Mm-hmm.
you always struggle on when to hire that next employee, when to add someone to your team.
Yep.
And the struggle every business owner has
Yep.
is always, what is that timing? When am I going to add the next team
Yep.
member?
Yeah.
And for some reason, for years, we would verbally say, we're going to go ahead and get the team on board to prepare for the business we anticipate coming.
Okay.
But over 50 years, the majority of that time, unfortunately, we talk about it and never take action on it. And then when the business is grow and you do need more employees, you're like, oh my goodness, why didn't we do what we said we were going to do and go ahead and hire those people?
Sounds a little bit of like faith there.
Well, we do have a lot of faith, but sometimes we procrastinate.
Sometimes you need a little more.
And don't do what we should do in a timely manner. Now, one thing we did learn, I actually, the other day, I listened to a podcast y'all made about a month ago. And,
Oh, boy.
and April mentioned in that podcast one of the books she had read where the person talks about getting the right people on the bus. So that
Jim
is
Collins, good, great.
that is one of the figures of speech that we use. So a few years back, the way we begin to combat that procrastination and not going ahead and get team members on the board, on the bus or on the team, is if the right person comes along, we have at least gotten smart enough. Okay,
Get it.
you hire them. I don't care what you have them doing right now. If they've got the skill set and
Right.
they've got the passion
Right.
and they've got the attitude, get them on the bus.
Right.
Go ahead and hire them.
We'll find the seat.
We'll find a seat on the bus, and it won't be long before they will find the right seat on the
Yeah,
bus, because
absolutely.
the Bible does say a person gifts makes room for them.
Oh,
Okay.
I love it. Yes.
So if you'll get them on the bus, their gifts will grow, and
there you go.
you'll find what seat on the bus they need to be on, because
Oh,
their gifts are
man.
going to make room for them. So one, I guess if you want me to give a bullet point is while you may be like me and spend too much time, if you spend too much time procrastinating and thinking about, I need to hire, I need to increase my team, I need to hire more people.
Yeah.
But look at my payroll. My payroll's going to be here before my income gets there. So
Right.
how am I going to adjust that?
Right.
Please, if the right candidate comes along, at least get them on the bus. Don't
Right.
procrastinate for the right person.
Right.
You're going to be better off if you don't procrastinate at all, and just go ahead and get them on your team. But certainly don't let an excellent
Right.
prospect slip through your fingertips, because they just don't come along, every day. And
That is
unfortunately,
amazing.
I'm going to insert one little thing right here, and everybody already. This is not news to anybody. Okay. you do have to graciously maybe hire someone with a little lower skill set than what you might otherwise want to hire if they have the passion and they have the good attitude, because the workplace is just not as fluid as it has been.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm not saying you got to hire everybody with a pulse, but you do need to be open-minded. You know,
Absolutely.
Even
we're seeing it everywhere. We travel a lot, and we see it a lot, and we're hearing it from everybody.
And the other thing is, now you might think, because I'm in the motorcycle business and I ride a Harley, that there's never been a stereotype bone in my body. Okay, but I'm telling you, if you have any, throw them away. You know, don't let somebody's hairstyle or anything about their appearance throw you off. You know, because some of the hardest working people you find may have more piercing and more body art than what you may otherwise like.
Right.
But if they've got good attitude and they've got good work ethic, tongue twister there. Let me back up and say, if you find someone, regardless of their body art or body piercings, if they have a good attitude and a good work ethic and they have passion, and you can teach them the skills, you may want to give them a shot.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, just throw any preconceived ideas you have about someone out the door.
Amazing.
You know, be open-minded.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they think, well, that's easy for him to say. You know, he's in the motorcycle business.
You guys got Hell's Angels coming in here. What are you talking about?
But they don't know me. You know, I mean, as he mentioned earlier.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic. We could probably talk about 3 hours on this one.
Yeah,
you were our youth pastor.
That's right.
You realize that.
That's right. So I was a youth pastor, for a long time, and I'm extremely, conservative, and I'm not very bold to just take out and take on new projects, which may lead us into one of the questions I think you were going to ask me about, and that is our diversification that April mentioned that I might want to drop in.
Yes.
So I got this idea that over the years we have someone come in as a young adult and buy a Harley Davidson motorcycle, and they get started in the life, and then kids come along, and then we kind of lose them for a season because they want to be involved in more outdoor sports, just besides just motorcycles. So based on the age of their children, they may want to do water sports, they may want to do off-road, they may want to do ATV or side-by-side.
I love it.
So 6 years ago, actually probably 7 or 8 years ago when the idea came in my heart, but we took action on it 6 years ago, and we took on the BRP.
So you had that year of thinking about it.
Well, to be honest with you, I started praying about it in 2011.
There you go.
Okay?
All right.
And we didn't get any product until 2016. So even that was over 5 years that I prayed about it and thought,
I love it.
Lord, do I need to do something besides, what I'm doing now? Because all I've done is sold Harley Davidsons, my whole life. Because I actually sold my first motorcycle. My dad opened up when I was like 12, and I sold my first motorcycle when I was 13.
Oh my gosh, that's
literally
amazing.
I was here helping on a Saturday afternoon. I'm chasing a rabbit. I was here helping on a Saturday afternoon, and this guy from Panama City, Florida, rode up on his bicycle. Seriously.
Wow.
So I just started talking to him.
That's impressive.
And, I went to the snack machine, bought him a Coca-Cola, bought him a pack of crackers, spent a couple hours with him going over different models. And that dude drove his bicycle back to Panama City, called a bus, came back to Dothan, Alabama, and bought a Harley from us.
Your first Harley.
Yeah, but the one that I sold,
that
responsible
is
for selling at
amazing.
13. So, chasing more rabbits, don't prejudge somebody that walks in the door. My dad loves telling the stories about you got to watch those farmers that come in that are dirty as they can be and their old overalls, because it may or may not be tobacco in the front pouch bill of his overalls. Yes. It may be a wad of $100 bills. So you don't ever prejudge a customer.
Absolutely
pre-qualify them.
Nope.
Serve everybody the same. Anyhow, going back to what I was saying, I'm going to share about the diversification.
Holland Motorsports.
After
I love it.
several years of praying about it, I decided that I would reach out to BRP, Bombardier Recreational Products, which carries the Sea-Doo watercraft, the Can-Am ATVs, and the Can-Am side-by-sides. And that has been, I'm sorry, we also have the three-wheel Spiders and Rikers for on-road.
Okay.
But they're three-wheel vehicles, are front driven. The wheels are in the front with a single wheel in the back, where the traditional Harley Davidson Tri-Glide has a single wheel in the front and two in the back.
Two in the back, yeah.
So pretty much everything that BRP offered
Okay.
was not a direct competition with Harley Davidson.
Nice.
I said, so I can reach out and carry a whole nother line of products.
Right.
And from an earlier thought that I chased a rabbit and didn't complete was when our customers beginning to get older and change their mind about the sports they wanted to be involved in and what they
Right.
want to do outdoors, I
Right.
told my dad, I said, we have these customers that we lose for a few years because they're interested in side-by-sides or ATVs or
Right,
watercraft.
right.
And then when the kids get a certain age and they have more time back to themselves,
Yeah.
they come back and then they come right back
Right.
and buy their next Harley
That
and
makes
start,
sense.
traveling
Perfect.
with just the wife again. And I said, why don't we close that loop
Yeah.
and just keep them in the Holland family for their entire power sports
That is awesome.
adventure. And it's working great because we've had a lot of customers that just came,
Right.
and it's been extremely successful because one of the things I wanted to do, not that other power sports industries don't do this, but one thing I wanted to be sure I'd done is when you grow up in the culture of Harley Davidson and they all become your friends, your family, you ride together, you actually eat a lot together, but you just enjoy the camaraderie that you have,
Right.
and the personal touch
Gotcha.
of helping them, with
Yeah.
their family member that just
Yeah,
happens to be a
absolutely.
Harley Davidson. I'm like, okay, I want to create that atmosphere for the Can-Am,
Yeah.
ATVs, side-by-side, the three-wheel
Wow.
vehicle,
I love it.
and the CD watercraft.
Right.
So I didn't just park all these vehicles beside my Harleys. I got my pocketbook out, spent a bunch of money, increased the size of my store,
Nice.
and
Did you double the
remodeled my
store?
store.
The showroom?
I didn't double it, but I added a whole lot of square footage to the store. I think I
Wow.
added 10,000 square foot total to my
Amazing.
operation. And one thing that worked out really great that wound up being a benefit for the Harley customers is my storefront, and this is probably too much information, but my storefront was very wide and shallow. So it put my clothing department way on one end of the store and my sales department way on the other end of the store.
Huh.
So when I decided to diversify, I went deeper
Okay.
and shallower. So I put the Can-Am on one end of so much square foot in the frontage,
Gotcha.
and left Harley so much square footage on the other end. Created two beautiful entrances for both brand names.
I gotcha.
And without my even realizing what I was doing, it has significantly enhanced the Harley Davidson experience because now the ladies in the clothing department, which are awesome and have a great attitude and love knowing all the customers' names. I mean,
Yep.
like if a sales guy has got a repeat customer that he might not have seen in 5 years buying the back,
Right, yeah.
but they come in all the time and buy, clothes and leathers and the latest
Yeah.
T-shirt. He just eases over to the motor clothes guy and says, hey, I said, what's that guy's name? Or what's that guy's name? I can't remember. I should know it. It's left me. So the motor clothes can whisper, what the name is. Because with my new layout, since I took on the BRP side and I got everything a little bit tighter on the Harley side,
right.
the parts and clothing and sales, and makes me want to take a camera and shine it around.
Right.
But it puts everything more chemistry oriented, and everybody can
Got it.
can work off other people's energy. So one gold nugget you may think about is look at your operation. Look at your layout. Because to be honest with you, God's grace just helped me stumble into this new dynamic because I wouldn't have had the foresight to have changed the setup of Harley Davidson, not realizing that it really wasn't shaped right.
Okay.
So, we often tell ourselves, even if it's just to be sure you're keeping the front clean
Right.
and keeping the trash up, to go outside your office, your business, whatever business you're in, and walk back in and look at it as a customer and say,
love it.
does this place look good? And the other thing that I hadn't thought about doing
So we
beforehand.
had never talked about that before. We've never talked about any of this stuff before.
You need to walk
And
in and say,
she lectures on it. April lectures on this stuff all the time across the country. So it's amazing to hear these points coming from you. I love it.
And the other thing is, and I didn't think about it until after we had done the remodel. I'm like, oh my
Right.
goodness, this new layout works so much better than the way our store was laid out before. And I was thinking, does that guy head on a swivel? No, I'm just looking around at how awesome and how happy and how blessed I am with our current layout.
Right.
That came because I had to rearrange it because I wanted to take on another product. So all I'm saying is look at your store.
Love that.
I mean, I don't care what type of physician you are or what business you're in. You go to other physicians' offices.
Yeah.
You go to other businesses.
Right.
What do you like about how they do what they do? What do you think is awkward? What do you think doesn't flow well?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know a lot of us will think, okay, what did they do that gave me a great customer service? What do they do that, man, that they could have done a better customer service if they'd done X, Y, Z.
Right.
Okay. Past the personnel, past the experience. What about the actual physical layout?
Right.
Do you need to spend a little money and change your flooring, change your paint, change your wall? I mean, is there something about your current layout that flows well, or did you visit some other doctor's office or other business and like, oh my goodness, I wish I'd done this. You know, their layout's way better. You know,
love it.
Sometimes you just got to reinvest in your business to grow it.
Amazing.
So yeah,
I think I got a couple pearls there. And I think you guys got a couple pearls there too. So, well, so what's your favorite bike that's here right now?
Well, my personal
is
favorite
there a personal
bike,
favorite that you have here?
Is the Road Glide Limited.
It's here right now. You got one here? We'll show a picture of it just so people know.
No, mine's not here.
Oh,
right
yours
now.
isn't here.
House because I'm packing it for my
trip.
trip to
you're going on a trip.
North Georgia mountain
lucky
riding
you.
in a few days.
There
so I'll
you
get
go.
home packing it.
All right.
But yeah, I love our traditional electric glide for the Harley enthusiast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love the looks of the electric glide. With the Batwing, what we call the Batwing fairing.
Love it.
Aesthetically, I just think it's absolutely beautiful. One of the prettiest bikes we make.
Yep.
But if I'm going to do a lot of mountain riding and doing a lot of curvy roads and stuff, I just prefer the Road Glide because its fairing is mounted to the frame, and the actual weight of the fairing is not part of the front end.
Gotcha.
And it just handles, you know, quicker. So, you know, for me, you know, I just like the Road Glide. You know.
Well, I think that's good enough. We'll have to take two, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Bill, and it's been amazing.
I have a question for you.
Oh,
Ask him about
April has a question for Bill.
Yes. So how did he convince us?
Oh boy.
Came in to buy. You'll have to re-ask.
So yeah, this was a good story, I think. So you obviously sold us a bike.
Yes, sir.
What, it's been about a year and a half now. So how did do you remember how that went down? I can help you along the way, but do you remember how that went down? I kind of came in, and you had a couple bikes out there ready, and I kind of went for a ride, and I was gone. You know what happened when I was gone?
I don't know where we're going, but what I'm sure that I asked you when you came in, because I ask everybody this, is I wanted to qualify how much riding you were going to do by yourself, how much riding you were going to do with April.
There you go.
Because at the end of the day, it's a family decision, not just an individual decision.
Correct.
And if you want her to be a part, you know, what I regularly tell you know, my customers is if it's something you want to do by yourself, then you can go in this direction.
That's right.
But if it's something you'll want to enjoy together, you need to go in this direction.
Yes.
And here are the reasons why.
And your dad was here too.
Yeah, and he's all about that.
And I think didn't somebody take you for a ride?
He definitely had me. The bikes were over.
Yeah. So okay, so that's right. He had you over there looking at the bigger bikes because I was looking at a little bit smaller bike, the smaller seat kind of thing, and he goes, no, your dad was over here with April going, no, you need to come look at these. These are a little bit more comfortable for you. And I get back and she's like, honey, come and look at this one. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, because it was something if you want your spouse to enjoy it with you, then you need to think about the type of bike you buy.
And that makes perfect sense. Yeah. And it worked well. And your dad is still involved.
That's right. 90 years old, comes in every day, you know, just as a personal gold nugget. You know, if you want to continue to enhance your marriage, then you need to think about whatever it is.
Yes.
You know, motorcycle riding, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, you need to think about what can you do together to help it grow together.
Absolutely.
Thank you to NeuroLens for being a sponsor of our podcast. We have really appreciated having the option of NeuroLens for our patients in our practice. At least 2/3 of people experience the symptoms of eye misalignment, and that number grows as we continue to shift to remote work and learning. The symptoms of headaches, eye strain, dry eyes, and neck pain, eye fatigue, even motion sickness can be extreme. Even small misalignments can cause painful symptoms, and even small prism correction can provide dramatic relief.
My wife actually doesn't ride as much right now as she's ridden in the past. But what we do to blend everything is she loves her mom, loves her sisters, loves her brother, loves spending time with family. So for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years in a row, I don't know how many years in a row that this is going to be, we picked somewhere in the Carolinas, North Georgia mountains, and we were in a cabin, for a week.
Okay.
And her and her mom and her sisters, they all get to cook and hang out and have a big time together. And me and my nephews and brother-in-laws, we all get on our Harleys and we all get to go, ride all over the mountain. So sometimes you just got to think outside the box.
Yeah.
And say, what can
For
I do
sure.
that's a win-win? A win for, my wife and quality time with her family, and a win for me and riding the curvy, beautiful, leaf-changing roads with my nephews and brother-in-law. So it's just I'm just saying, just think about what can you do to bring your whole family together.
It's a family thing.
So does Harley have national sales meetings or anything like that?
Yes. Harley's national sales meetings, there's sales meetings or sales you get together with other dealers?
That's went through
times?
A lot of cycles in the last 50 years. There have been seasons when we had summer dealer meetings that was all about seeing the new products, winter dealer meetings when we'd see a few products and have a whole lot of training. But with the introduction of COVID, we haven't actually had an on-site dealer meeting for a couple of years now, and I don't see Harley Davidson Motor Company having, going back to having, one anytime in the immediate, future. So we do, a lot over the internet and Zoom meetings for training, and they have a lot of good training.
But you have in the past, though, you guys got together. Sometimes the dealers would get together then?
Yes. But right now that's not,
right, just
a couple of weeks
COVID
from now, they have smaller groups called performance groups that I'm a part of.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically a 20 group. You got them in different businesses where you get share numbers and share ideas to help your
awesome.
business grow. And sometimes I go. Sometimes my general manager Jeremy goes. Assistant manager Pam may go. In our group, most everybody is on the East Coast, and my wife doesn't normally go to the 20 group meetings with me, but this, and every now and then we will pick one of our dealers to go do a dealer visit. We'll go see their store.
Oh, nice.
We'll walk around and tell them what we like about their store, what we don't like about the store.
Wow.
They take our criticisms and our, what we tell them what we really like and maybe what we should do. So, if you have a partnership with other businesses that you're a part of, regardless of your industry, maybe you could share some time together.
Yeah, that's true.
And ask them to come evaluate your processes and you evaluate their processes. So it gives that opportunity within the 20 group to not only share financial numbers, but we also get to do dealer visits.
Wow.
And the little smile I was going to give here was because of the distance and the time and how busy we are, it turns out everybody couldn't break away and go to this particular 20 group meeting, but we only have one dealer in our 20 group membership that's on the West Coast. He happens to be in Palm Springs. So they twisted my arm, and my wife and I, are going to be flying out to Palm Springs and at that performance group meeting and visiting that dealer and looking at his numbers. And we may have a couple extra days in Palm Springs past the business meeting since I've got to go out there.
You'll
anyway.
suffer through that.
But
okay.
So, hey, sometimes you just got to take one for the team, and make the business trail.
Unbelievable. I love it. Man, I'm so glad we got to talk. This has been amazing, and April and I really wanted to do this. We wanted to talk to other people, other businesses, in this podcast and these things because you can get so focused on what you do, you don't hear what other people are thinking, and you can just lose yourself sometimes in your own world.
Well, one other thing I want to add that
it's nice to hear.
Yeah, well, and they can end this if they need to, whenever they need to end it. But one other item I was just going to share on the family side, and that is because I don't know in how many fields, how many of y'all work family, but
a lot actually.
Yeah, not everybody can work family together. But
right.
My dad started this business in 1972. He's still here at at 90 years old, comes in every day, and there have been times when our relationship was strained. But we were able to work through those. I used to tell, I jokingly say, back when there was, a few years ago, there was a real popular show called Orange County Choppers.
Oh yeah.
And the father and son would go at each.
Oh yeah.
And when I would watch, I'd see that show, and I'm like, oh my! I said, my dad and I, we were the reality TV show in the early '80s,
And they're doing this on television now.
Yeah, they're getting paid to do it. I said we were like the G-rated version of Orange County Choppers because they were many a day when we had to close the office door and just go at each other, because oh my, it just our views on what we should do and where we should go and the direction we're headed in and the decision we should make, they just didn't always go well, and we had to work through a whole lot of no,
we get it,
process. But and the other thing I want to add is deciding to do this in 2016, waiting 5 years to do it. It took a lot of prayer and a lot of thought process. Basically, any of the remodels we've done, any of the adding of product we've done, I've had to allow myself to rest in God and allow the Holy Spirit to lead me in that direction.
Oh, I love it.
Because I'm just not, I don't want to close this and everybody thinking, oh, that guy's just, he's that businessman that's all that in a bag of chips, to grow his business and have it at from 4,000 square feet to over 40,000 square feet and all those other brands and all this other stuff. But in my particular case, it's been a very slow, very humble process, asking the Lord, please show me what to do next on a regular basis.
Right.
It's not uncommon for me to walk around, not just inside my business, but walk around the entire, properties, after hours, nobody's here, just, walk around your business, pray for your business, but pray for your employees, pray for their families. Yeah. Because if your heart, if at your very core, you're before God and you're praying for your employees and you're praying for their families, then because it's real to you, you don't have to worry about a pretense when you get to work the next day.
I love that. Wow.
I mean, we have a little joke going on in the service center right now, to where a couple of the guys are so close. One of the older service technicians, they've started calling him, Grandpa, and then a middle-aged technician, they're calling him the son, and the younger technician, they're calling the child, and one day the younger technician was, just getting a little overwhelmed with stuff, so I just gave him a hug, and the next day he wanted another hug. So now every time I see the younger technician, he
gets his hug.
He gets a hug. And how that joke's kind of tuck off now is the younger technician, he'll say, did you hug my dad or my granddad today? And I haven't, but I will. So then I go hug the middle-aged technician, and then I go hug the older technician, because everybody wants to be sure every family member, got their hug. But of course, the best hugger is my dad. Actually, the Harley Davidson years ago had a motorcycle they called the Harley Hugger. Okay. And so my dad's picked up the nickname Harley Hugger, so because he will hug, all the female customers that come in here, and he's got them pretty well trained. They'll come in to buy a T-shirt and like, where's Dutch? I got to get, because if he finds out I'm here and didn't get his hug, he's going to be upset.
I love it.
At 90 years old, you can just get away with about anything, I guess. But but I have, I'm 63 now, so I've tried to. If my dad's not here and like, where's Dad? I'm like, well, he's not here, but I'll hug you on his behalf or whatever.
There you go. Perfect. I love it. Well, on that note, thank you.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate you being here. Yes.
You are awesome.
Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Opt In with Dr. April Jasper.